Bienvenue à tous. Welcome to Reporters here on France 24. I'm Mark Owen. In this edition, university education, a right or an expensive luxury? Student debt is running at over $1 trillion. $1 trillion in the United States. An average graduate leaves university with a degree certificate and $30,000 in loans to repay. Tuition fees are going up as salaries stagnate. For many young people, the economic hard facts leave them with a difficult dilemma. Is a university education a price worth paying? It's very much a political hot potato in the United States. Our Washington correspondent for the Crowther sent us this.
College in the United States. A dream for the less well-off. A rite of passage for America's middle-class and upper-class kids. For millions of Americans, though, the dream has turned into a financial nightmare. While salaries stagnate, the price of a college degree is going up steadily, as are the loans to pay for it all. New recruits are needed, and it's the students themselves who sell the product on campus to the prospective buyer.
Something I'd like to mention is on the first floor we have Footnotes Cafe. So these are a couple of the cafes we have. There's actually a full functioning Starbucks in there. So if you need a quick pick-me-up, you can always go in there. Something else I'd like to mention is on the second floor, if you forget your laptop, forget your charger, you don't have to walk all the way back.
Part of these tours is really to get people excited about coming here. What you most likely will not mention is the cost of it. A lot of these people are probably in-state. They are not going to consider the cost of coming here and spending the money on books. I mean, I've spent upwards of $1,000 on textbooks. It's just not going to even register to them how much money they're going to be spending ultimately.
A few months after the end of her academic career, Nina denounces a system of which she says she's a victim. The diploma was supposed to open the gilded doors to a career that hasn't materialized. The best 4 years of this young American life may have happened in an idyllic setting, but they did not come cheap.
I've spent over $129,000 on my tuition, not including the textbooks, not including the time, not including the energy, not including the jobs that I had to take. And I don't know if I do it all over again. It's a lot of money. I love my university, but I can't afford it.
Ain't she nice? The girl heard once or twice. I asked her very confidentially, ain't she nice? Just cast a little lie in her director.
In the state of North Carolina, the Constitution says that an education should be free as practicable. That leaves a lot of room for interpretation, and college is definitely not free here. At the University of North Carolina in Asheville, UNCA, the Financial Aid Office is a fixture like on every American college campus. The price of an education here stands at over $120,000 for out-of-state students. That's more or less the national average.
So for some of your friends that have received financial aid, have they given you personal stories about how that has impacted their experience here at UNC Asheville, or afforded them the opportunity to be able to come here if they
Definitely,
wouldn't have been able to come here otherwise?
Definitely very grateful to have the opportunity to be able to come here.
For many, student debt begins here. If the parents can't pay for their education, a loan will be the next step, always with the added interest payments.
It's a daunting investment, but you can guarantee that it's a good one.
I think so. I absolutely think that it's an excellent investment.
And back to my question, how do you measure that?
You're going to have to help me with that one. Because I'm not sure how the institution as a whole, I know how admission sells it, which is probably very different than how
the press minder who sits in on this interview does not have the answer either.
Okay. Yeah.
This uncertainty doesn't seem to affect Gray Barrett. He is the model student the university has chosen to be our guide.
Beautiful place. It's a beautiful place to be. There's lots of great music, lots of great people. It's a great atmosphere and a good place to be a student. We have, a gym, pool, nice library, as you can see, great classrooms, open space, good places to study, to think, to socialize. So that's, it's part of what you pay for, and I think that's a really, really valuable part of what you get.
Gray forgets to mention, though, that he, coincidentally, pays nothing, not a single dollar. He's one of the lucky few winners of the grand prize, a full scholarship. It's enough to put a smile on the face of any student. Gray happily shows us the complete package on offer at his college.
All right, so this is the Laurel Forum. It's a nice area for studying. We have presentations, talks here on a weekly basis. It's got a nice fireplace you can sit by when the weather's nice and cold like this. We do yoga sessions in here. We screen debates. We have informal talks by professors, students.
Gray is an exception. Like 70% of all American university students, David Augustine took out loans to pay for his business studies. The result was a lot of debt owed to Sallie Mae, the company that provides student loans. The man now known as D1 became a full-time rapper. Success brought money and the chance to pay off all of his loans. He paid Sallie Mae back.
Pay for books, so I took out loans to feed the boy. Graduated, wasn't making quite enough to pay him back. Went in default, messed my credit up, check my Equifax.
The video has since gone viral. D1 says that student debt isn't black, white, or Hispanic. He says it's a nationwide problem.
I represent millions of people who have attended college, whether they graduated or not, but whose family wasn't rich enough to pay for their complete college education. So they had to take out student loans. I represent my whole generation. I represent everyone who's working a job right now and who's barely making enough to pay their bills and still pay back their student loan debt.
That's a situation Nina knows all too well. She still lives at home with her mother. Several small jobs keep Nina afloat for now. The current one pays $12 an hour. That's not enough to pay back $1,200 a month in student loans. She's not the only one in debt in this household. Her mother, too, is still weighed down by student debt. So much so that this house literally crumbled under the weight of their debt. Together, they owe $150,000.
So when I first saw the crack, I could have had someone out here to tell me exactly what was wrong, and we probably could have fixed it or even just simply bought a better house if it weren't for the loans. And it's a constant struggle.
Nina's mother says state governments prefer to see education as a commodity rather than as a public service. For her, this is a calculated political policy which has led to the privatization and rising cost of universities in the United States.
How does that happen? It's not like Maryland is all of a sudden unable to meet those accommodations or not wanting to provide services to students for the long haul. This is the future. These kids are the future for the state. It's because we should have tax breaks for the wealthy. And that's what our governor did. So yeah, it's horribly unfair. It hurts students from middle income and low income the most.
At the University of North Carolina, Gray is about to graduate in political science and is convinced his diploma from a prestigious American university will open those doors to a job.
He was almost deposed because the Soviet forces thought that this was the end for the Soviet Union, which it ultimately was.
Contrary to most of his classmates, student debt is not constantly on his mind. He does, though, have an opinion on the crucial conundrum: is it worth it? Is a college degree worth the money?
I think there's a lot of societal pressure to make people go to college, whether that's from the community, whether that's on a familial basis or whatever. There's a lot of pressure pushing people into college. which I think for a lot of people is a good investment, but it's not for everyone.
Hope this email ain't wrong. It say congratulations on paying back your student loans. I took a screenshot.
University was never supposed to be D1's destiny, but it was a choice he made, and one that allowed him to escape the neighborhood he grew up in. D1 is convinced that a college degree, despite its expense, is worth the effort, especially for those who come from a tough area like his.
You good?
What's up?
I'm good, brother. You all right?
Yeah, been doing fine, D, man.
It's almost like they don't want us to know that. It's like they'll put a basketball in your hand real quick. You know what I'm saying? They'll put a microphone in your hand and put an instrumental on real quick. But I knew that the main weapon I had, it wasn't a gun, it wasn't a basketball, it was what's up here, it was my brain. So I knew I wanted to be one of the only people from around here to make it out because of my education.
D1 likes returning to his old stomping grounds where the adventure began.
DU, this is exactly where we shot the video at, man. Like, I ran through this field, I had everyone with me when, like, in slow motion when we were like all joyous and excited about paying off our student loans. We ran right through this field.
Student debt in the United States now stands at over $1 trillion, and it's going up to the tune of $2,700 per second.
Where y'all at with it right now? Like, how much does that weigh into y'all train of thought in terms of like, dang, it's costing this much to go to school. Is this gonna be worth it? Am I gonna be able to find a job? Is that even on your mind? Or right now it's like, man, do whatever, take out loans, whatever I gotta do. Are y'all taking out loans?
Yeah, so.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So everybody sitting next to me taking out loans.
I'm actually a film major, so a lot of my family members are like, you know, you shouldn't go to college for film. You should think about law school after. So I'm in the mindset of, you know, in the industry that I'm in, hopefully I make enough money to pay it off early on and not have to worry about it. Because for a lot of people, they're going to be paying it back for, what, 50 years? 40 years?
The rapper now takes his song to university campuses around the country. Each time it touches a nerve, there are 40 million Americans who still haven't paid back their student debt, contrary to D1. His hymn to finally, one day, paying it back has become the anthem of a generation.
Guess what I did?
I finished paying, selling, baby. I finished paying, selling, baby. I finished paying, selling, baby. I finished paying, selling, baby.
That report by Philip Crowther and Gallagher Fenwick in the US. Philip Crowther joins us now for more on this. Philip, in your report you mentioned this almost unthinkable figure, over $1 trillion in debt. Is the US heading towards some kind of new major economic crisis?
It's been indicated by some, but it certainly won't be anything like the housing crisis and the financial crisis of 2008. At least that's what it looks like at this point. Remember that with a housing crisis, you can foreclose houses. The banks can do so. You can't foreclose a diploma. That still has to be paid back. And as you say, the figures are gigantic. It's 43 million Americans who took out loans and who still owe money at this point. And the figure right now stands at $1.32 trillion in student debt. Yes, that is absolutely astronomical, but it is a very different type of economic crisis. Most of these borrowers are young people, meaning that what it does, it slows down the economy more than anything else. These people won't be able to buy houses as quickly as they want. They won't be able to marry as quickly as they want. They won't be able to invest at the point that they would want to, and won't be able to save for retirement. So it's more a slowing down of the economy than anything else. And by the way, there are one or two people who say that these massive amounts of student debt, well, they might just about be something positive. Just one expert recently said that more student debt, well, that's a good thing because it means more Americans are getting an education. There is a large majority of people, though, who would disagree with that assessment.
Indeed, it is an interesting way to look at it, isn't it? Considering the sheer size of this problem, though, it's almost inevitably turned into a campaign issue. Are any real, true solutions being offered by the presidential candidates?
Well, there's certainly one solution that will get a lot of young voters on your side. That is to offer free tuition in public colleges and universities. That is one of the promises that are out there. Very difficult to make into a reality, though, because for all of these proposals, as is always the case, you need not only the okay from Congress, which is, of course, controlled by Republicans, but you also need an agreement from governors throughout the states here in the U.S., and that includes, of course, Republican governors who are less likely to change the way things are right now in terms of public education. There have been voices out there, though, on the Republican side. Just two examples of candidates who are already out of the race. Jeb Bush was supposed to be the education candidate. He was supposed to do a lot for university students and their impending debt. He's, of course, out of the race now. And remember Marco Rubio as well, the senator from Florida, also out of the race already. Now, he is someone who reminded people of his own student debt. That's as high as it goes. Everybody has student debt in the United States. He says when he entered the U.S. Senate in 2011, he owed $100,000 in debt. So Democrats think they have a solution. Republicans aren't quite as concrete with their solutions.
Philip, we need to leave it there. Thank you very much indeed. Philip Crowther and Gallagher Fenwick with our report on student debt from the United States. See it again, of course, via our website, francevincat.com. This is Reporters on France 24. Stay with us.